I didn't grow up like most around here do. I grew up in the darkness, surrounded by the monsters in this world. I didn't grow up knowing God's love and grace. Instead, I knew physical and mental abuse. I knew pain on a level unbearable after being hit by a drunk driver and needing 5 spine surgeries. I distinctly remember having a conversation with my aunt saying, despite everything, and I still try to be a good person, then this happens. She said, honey, I don't know why this happened, but you should pray about it. Without hesitation, I looked her right in the eyes. I said, if there's some magic man in the sky that can fix everything, then he most certainly does not love me. But I stand here today knowing that that couldn't have been further from the truth. In 2021, I had this growing longing for something I just couldn't put my finger on. The idea of going to church kept coming up in our lives, and one day we decided to take friends up on the Sunday morning invite. That Sunday morning during service, their pastor announced they were closing their doors, and that was their last Sunday. We left joking with a friend saying, I told you something bad would happen if we came to your church. Now you don't have a church either. But honestly, my heart cried that day because I truly thought, maybe I'm right. I'm too broken. A few weeks go by, and a guy my husband did work for had invited us to church. We decided to go, both of us agreeing, if it's as bad as last time, we're not trying again. Walking into the doors of CTK was like walking into the doors of that one safe, happy, loving place you had as a kid. The sermon spoke directly to my heart, and I was overwhelmed at the goodness you could just feel in the room. Later that Sunday, my husband got a text from the guy who invited us saying, I know you don't know our pastor yet, but if you could say a prayer, he had to detour his trip home from vacation to go to the hospital. We looked at each other, sighed, and didn't say a word. We finished out our night and went to bed. I couldn't sleep. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So I got up and went to the bathroom. I decided, for the first time in my adult life, I was going to pray. I started off, God, if you're listening, if you can fix things, and I'm not too broken for you, will you please save this man's life? It went on for probably an hour or so, yelling and crying, probably more like a 2-year-old tantrum if I'm being honest, and then a sudden calmness as I ended the prayer. The next day, after my husband got home from work, I asked him, did you hear anything about that pastor? He said, no, but I'll ask. And just like magic, as he reached for his phone, a text came through. The pastor was fine. It was a false alarm, and he'd hoped to see us next Sunday. I immediately told my husband we had to go and what my prayer was. Amazed, he looked at me and said, I prayed for the first time last night as well. Fast forward a couple of months, and I've seen so many people go to the altar at this point. I just didn't understand, but I did feel like I was being pulled there. So one Sunday, I finally just asked Marilyn Reed during service, what are they doing? She said to me, giving their heart to the Lord. Would you like to? I'll go with you. She held out her hand. I grabbed it, and I think I floated up to that altar. I was so nervous. I didn't know what to say, the appropriate way to go about all this. I knelt down and Marilyn prayed with me. In that moment, I felt a warm, water-like feeling rush across my whole body. I cried like a baby, but I had never felt so overjoyed. I gave my heart to my Savior Jesus Christ that day. As my first act of obedience, I was baptized November 21st, 2021. And I will spend the rest of my days submitting to His will and trying to shine His light into this all too often dark world.